Good morning, everyone. We are hosting our next episode of Morning Coffee with Media, and we're very excited to have Good Day LA's only executive producer, Michelle Pulfrey. So welcome, Michelle. We're super excited to have you. Okay, so here's the thing about Michelle. She has won a lot of awards. She's an award-winning producer, and now she's the executive producer. When did that fully go in effect? It was
December of 23.
Okay, so it's been a couple years. So she's kind of a big deal. I'm not sure if everyone understands. She's a big deal. But she has been at Good Day LA for 27 years, multi-award winner, including 2 Golden Mics, multiple Emmy nominations, and she's won an Emmy. So we're sitting in greatness right here. And many of us have worked with you, but we've never seen you. I mean, I've seen you. Yeah. She's actually met my daughters. My daughter actually ran off her live set, afraid of the camera, in a kids' fashion show. And you were wonderful. But we are excited to have you. And I would love to have you just kind of break down a little bit of your backstory. What got you into TV? I know the story, so if you can kind of go into some of the different roles you thought you were going to play and why you ended up where you're at. I'd love to know.
So the first introduction to news, I would say, was because my neighbors in Colorado, where I grew up, were in the news, and we had a career day in 6th grade. And so I said, I'm going to go and see what the news is all about. Because in 6th grade, like, what do you want to be for career day? I don't even know. A pilot? Like, you can't do that.
Marine biologist.
Right. I'm going to go swim with whales. So I went to a news station, and it left such an impression on me at 12. I thought, who's this woman running the meetings and, telling everybody where to go and what to do? And they said, oh, that's the executive producer. And even in 6th grade, I was like, I'm going to do that when I get... I never was interested in being on camera. I was never interested in being the reporter. I always wanted to be behind the scenes. So fast forward, when I was applying to colleges, I was all set and ready to go to KU. And I went to the college fair to actually go meet the people. And Chapman was actually right next to them. Ended up talking to Chapman, got a scholarship to go. And that's sort of like where my career really started, was at Chapman. And right before I graduated, one of the other students was an intern at Good Day LA and said, let's do Good Day LA as our senior thesis. And nobody really knew, because who's getting up to watch the news at 6 in the morning when you're in college? Literally no one. So we went to Good Day LA. I played, do you guys know the Steve, Jillian, and Dorothy era?
Yes, okay. Steve and Jillian.
I pretended to be Jillian, and then there was a Dorothy and a Steve, and we met them that day, and I don't know who I thought I was. I had no resume, but I was like, I brought my resume, and I got a job interview that day.
Because you look like Jillian.
It was, what's so funny is people would say that we look related, but then they would see us like stand up next to each other, and like I'm 5'11" and she's 5'3". So I'm like, oh, actually, maybe no. But that day I had the job interview and they offered me the job, and I just remember panicking, like, now I have a job and I haven't graduated yet. How am I going to work? Like, what's going to happen? So shortly after, I think I graduated on a Saturday and I started on a Monday.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I didn't know that story. That's great.
Yeah. And then I think that's kind of where it goes into what you might be referring to. But like, that's like, who wants to go into news when they're in 6th grade? No one. But that literally changed the trajectory of my whole life and what I wanted to do.
So moral of the story is bring your kid to work day actually works.
Yes. And maybe there'll be a fashion model.
Yeah.
You have the next Heidi Klum on your hands.
That's so funny. She actually now competitively dances, and every single time she goes on stage, I worry if she's going to have that stage right.
No. Oh, no.
I'm like, oh God, don't
panic.
Don't panic. There's no Michelle on the sidelines keeping you back on. Okay, so then you decided you did want to be in front of the camera.
Nope, never wanted to be in front of the camera. Started off like ripping scripts, production assistant style, and then I went almost right into... the funny story is the person who I replaced as a field producer, we used to call it coffee cam. We would just send a camera out to some new, like if Discovery Cube had something fun happening, we would just send a camera out, not even a reporter, and just talk over it. And the guy left and he's like, oh, I'm going to go start a new talent singing competition show. And we're like, whatever. American Idol, $19 million later. I was like, oh, well, at least I have your old job. So thanks, Mike Darnell. So anyway, I then became a field producer for a good amount of years. Fast forward life. That's how I learned how to do all the live shots for 10 years with all the fun. Then Jillian's Style File producer left. Again, she was like, I'm going to start a company where we sell clothes that didn't sell in the stores. Like, hot look. $140 million later, she sold her company. We're like, okay, I'm glad to have your old job too.
I actually did not know that's what happened to her.
Yeah,
that's
Carlotta.
amazing.
Yeah, amazing. And then she just produced a movie with Tyler Perry that was just in the theaters. Incredible. Of course she did.
Of course
amazing. So again, I got her old job, so that's great. No, so I did Style File with Jillian for about 8 years.
Okay, how many remember Style File?
Style File was
amazing.
like, literally, we got to meet every designer, talk about all the trends and style and fashion, which, was really like my whole, I loved.
Okay, so she's kind of obsessed.
I am.
Yesterday we were talking and I said, oh, did you know the new Kate store opened? And she's like, wait, Kate? Oh my gosh, I love Kate. I'm obsessed with Kate. I have 28 articles of Kate. And she starts texting me photos to prove it.
I bought a dress just to wear for the Orange Coast magazine shoot. I had to track it down in London Italy. It was in Italy.
And she told Tina Borgata at Orange Coast magazine, a former guest on the show, to delay her photo shoot so her dress could be in town.
Yeah, it hadn't arrived yet.
And of course, Tina would do that for Michelle.
Of course.
Yeah.
We love Tina.
So anyway, I actually know the manager of the new Kate store. And so they met tonight.
We're just Brenda making connections.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what this is all about, right?
So, but I just forgot when you were sending it, I was like, oh, that's right. Style File. This is why you love brands, is that you did get to work with some of the greatest brands in the area. And
Jillian was obsessed with fashion and style and all the things. So
I love that. Yeah.
It was fun. It was collaborative. She would literally open In Style magazine, rip out a page and be like, let's do that. And you got to bring sort of pages of a magazine to life, which was really exciting. You got to meet the designers and the publicists. And as you guys know, they all kind of move around within the same circles and whatever. So I just met a whole different group of people. Then after Jillian and Dorothy left, we moved into a senior producer role. And that's where I really started to say, what am I going to do with the next part of my career here? I know how to do all of the other jobs that sort of led up to. And that's when I started to take on things like doing the Senate debates and the mayor's debates and the governor's debate. And I mean, just live projects like live at Dodger Stadium for the World Series and just different sort of things that I could do that challenged me, that felt different than packages and live stuff. And as you guys know, COVID changed a lot of stuff. So anyway.
But didn't you try reporting once you left?
Oh my God, yes.
This is the story. This is
how
actually...
Brenda knew that I went, and we call it the other F word. Mm-hmm. I was at a live shot for Good Day LA. The news director in Fresno saw me Jillian and Steve used to be
She said Fresno.
Right.
She's in Los Angeles. She said Fresno. I just want to make sure.
I know. I'm sorry. But Steve and Jillian used to be like, Michelle, are you out there? What's going on? And I was at the Oscar red carpet and Jillian's like, do you know where our spot is on Sunday? Can you find it? And there's just bleachers everywhere. And so I was like, actually, yeah, it's way over there. And she says, go find it. And on live TV, I ran down the bleachers with the microphone. I'm like, oh my God, come with me. It's over here. And this news director saw it. He's like, you're so funny. I want to hire you right now. I'm like, oh my God, I'm not for sale. And he literally after 3 or 4 months was like, please, please, please. And my parents were like, please, please, please. And my professors from Chapman were like, you should. And I did it and I just hated it. One of the very first things, I wouldn't say it was first, but in the first month that I was there, I was doing Krispy Kreme openings and fun feature. And as you all know as publicists, then it was a morning, I think I was actually at a coffee shop and somebody was murdered in their driveway. It was an ex-girlfriend went and heard her boyfriend was cheating on her, shot the boyfriend, shot the mom in the door, whatever, and fled. And as I because we were right down the street, as I showed up to the scene, they're both in the driveway. I just couldn't handle it. I got literally sick to my stomach and I went, I can't do this. Being on the other side of the camera, being in the control room is so very different than being out there, that I have so much compassion for what our reporters have to do and knock on doors and see the things that they see, that I just couldn't do it. And it was just such a different mental space that I couldn't be okay with seeing that stuff all the time. I'm like, I have to get out of this career. So I called the station. I'm like, I made the biggest mistake of my whole life. And they said, just come back and start on Monday. And I was like, okay.
Very lucky.
Okay, thank you.
And
It was that easy? I was like, okay.
and not to mention LA, Fresno.
Yeah. And I was 20. I remember I turned 27 in Fresno, and I was like, I made the biggest mistake of my whole life. Our show at the time was national. I mean, it was like the biggest deal.
I remember when it was national.
And I just was like,
wow, that's a hot
is this
minute.
what they call my midlife crisis at 27? But it really was.
You know what?
It really
I totally forgot. I forgot that it was national.
Yeah.
Go,
Good
Jillian.
Day Live, we called it then. Good Day
Good
Live.
Day Live.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, so much has changed in 20 years. We're going to get to that. But you mentioned something that I think is really important, and I would be remiss to not ask you. We went through a major tragedy here in the Southern California area, specifically in Los Angeles, just a few months ago with the LA fires. Take us into what the newsroom was like. And you were in your executive producer role at that time, because it had been a couple years. What was that like leading your team through that?
The interesting thing for us about the fires, if any of you have been to Fox 11 and our station, you know in proximity, like KTLA is all the way on the other side of town in Hollywood, and we're like way on the west side, right? So when the fires broke out from our roof, you could see smoke. And it's like you could literally see the Palisades from our roof. So it was about 10:30 in the morning, and they're like, oh, there's smoke, there's fire. You send Skyfox up, and it's like, this is a significant fire. And I think that first day was probably the most, I don't even want to say chaotic, because there was when I say that fire took off so fast, even for us, I think you guys all remember the first day with the cars everywhere, and there was so much not happening as far as we were getting information. It was like you were trying to call and get information, people weren't confirmed. You know what I mean? It was just like, where do you send crews? Where do you? Yeah, oh yeah. There was a lot of wind, and like I said, this fire sort of took off, and we can watch it from outside of our station. And now it's like, where are you deploying? Like, where are you sending the people? And now that road's closed, and now they can't get through here, and now our crew is stuck up there. But like at the same time, these houses are now burning like crazy, and we're hearing from people that we know because it's in our next neighborhood. I just went to a workout class. I came home and I can't even get into my neighborhood, or I fled my car and I had to leave. And now all of a sudden you're trying to go, what story are we telling? Like there's so many stories to tell in this one moment. It's like, how do you safely evacuate? It's like, we don't know. We're trying to find out, you know what I mean? Like there is a lot of information that we're responsible to try to find out to give to people. The first thing that we're responsible for is trying to make sure that you're safe. You have the information you need to know. Where is an evacuation center? Where should you go? What are the things that you need to be doing to take care of yourself, your family? Like that's our first responsibility in the news. And at the same time, you're going like, where can we get this information? And then another fire breaks out and another, I mean, like it just felt so, when we were talking earlier, I think we were on I actually checked, it was 67 hours straight. We have a helicopter that has the mapping technology in it. So we were able to, at night, when people couldn't see from news coverage, use the helicopter to show neighborhoods that were still, like you could see the flare, you know, of the orange glow, and be able to map out the neighborhoods to show people what we could see.
Actually, I think I remember seeing that.
Yeah. And it was just like, if we could provide that service even, and like and anytime, I mean, I'll never forget one of our reporters, who also had gone to Chapman. Her name is Chelsea Edwards. She was standing on PCH, and we're like, well, at least this is a safe place for her. Because at PCH, the fire's never going to get down to PC. And then here came the fire down PC. It was like, I mean, you couldn't make a good decision.
I can't believe Moonshadow's gone. Like all of these iconic
And
things.
when she was saying it, like I have to say, even for us in the news, we were talking earlier, like, do you have a shock factor that sort of wears off? Or do you see things that, again, like what used to make me so nauseous and I can't even look at it now is like, oh, okay. But that day it was like, where do you go and what shot do you get off of to go to the next thing? Because Chelsea as she's live, there's like embers blowing in her face. And then we went to Christy Fajardo to get Chelsea some shelter, and Chrissy has power lines exploding behind her and like falling. It was just like, and you're trying to keep your reporters safe, and and they have camera guys that can't see behind them. So those instances are there's only one me, and there's a lot of people out there. And the thing about Good Day LA that I can say after being there for so many years is the trust we all have in each other, that the photographers and reporters have with each other, that the anchors have with the reporters out in the field, that the first thing you do is just get out of harm's way. But it's a weird balance of like, how do you keep your people safe? But also, how do you tell the story to the viewers who are just like, what is the information? What neighborhoods are burned? How many houses have gone down? and you're waiting for a press conference to happen, but the information is changing even so fast that you know what I'm saying? Like you just feel like you can't even get off the air. There's more to tell.
Yeah, and we all had loved ones that were glued to the TV watching the evacuation area. I had a 105-year-old grandmother that they had the cars ready to go, but the big decision was, is it harder for her to move, or is it easier for her to just wait it out? And what should we do? Because if we move her, it's going to be a lot, and it was just very scary because I never thought it would come into Wilshire and Santa Monica ever. I'm like, wait, what? Pull up.
Or even by the time, and there was like the Hollywood area and then Studio City. It was like, there was just a day like, even us in the news, it's like, can you get a break? Like these winds are so crazy that there's literally nothing any of the firefighters could do at that point except just try to help.
Well, and I thought what you did was great. Want to tell, you ended up calling in reinforcements, which I think a lot of people forget that you can't.
We've helped other stations a lot. Like we've sent people to Houston to help with hurricanes and disasters. We've gone to Florida for the same reasons. We send people from our newsroom. And this is the first time I can remember in 27 years. I don't remember in 9/11. I remember us, going to them, but I've never recalled in Los Angeles needing to call in reinforcements. And for about 4 to 6 weeks, we had reporters come in and relieve our reporters, photographers come in to take over, because our team was not only exhausted, you're carrying 80-pound cameras and running out of fires. And literally they came back, you're like smelling, and their faces are full of soot and like they just need time, right, with their families and to just decompress. So we had everything from news directors to writers, editors, everybody come in and help us just so some of our team could take a break, because we were working 6, 7, 8 days in a row. Some of our team was working 14, 15 days. Just because.
Well, and it also became national news. So.
Well, and then that's the other thing. You're trying to feed affiliate stations and we're trying to take turns doing that.
And get real factual information out, all of the things. So that brings me to kind of this question about the trust that local media has. Like you talk about, hey, look, we're trying to make sure people know how to be safe, be able to get information while the first responders are trying to organize. And while I know all of the emergency response, they have very good intentions of trying to get information out. You play an incredible role in being that first responder, making sure people are informed in real time. There is a role that local media plays, and I think even more and more as we see I think a lot of people are exhausted by the national news cycle. It's right now in the current administration, no matter what political side you fall on, it's quite intense. It's quite exhausting. There's a lot of broadcast news out there that is sharing a lot of commentary. But when it comes to local news, you are bound by different parameters and bound by different sets of and journalistic integrity and ethics
and I think
that I don't think most people know.
Yeah, I think a lot of people get, for us, Good Day LA is obviously a Fox product, but local news is obviously very different than national news. And on national news, it's very opinion-based talk shows. And again, we're all in the business of knowing the difference, right? Like you guys are all publicists who know the difference. But I would say the common viewer is like, I hate Fox News Channel or I love Fox News Channel. Like obviously when I started at Fox 11, Fox News Channel hadn't existed yet. It started a year and a half later. And it wasn't this very polarizing, like CNN is for Democrats and Fox is for Republicans. Like it didn't start like that. Like everybody just started, like Ted Turner wanted to start his own broadcast network, and you can have opinions and do things like that. Local news is an FCC license. So we have to verify facts with 2 different sources. And even if someone dies, is it crossed the AP wires yet? Or, again, you guys know these things, but for the common viewer who doesn't, you're trying to prove to them, like, we are trustworthy, but it's very hard to tell people, like, here's the standards that we have to follow to make sure that we're giving you the most accurate news. And we've checked with 2 sources that are valuable sources and not, I even remember the day that TMZ, we like, oh, now it's on TMZ. And now it's like, TMZ is a valuable source. They actually get information correct and they haven't been sued or lost a lawsuit about getting information wrong. But I remember, like, how weird is the time?
Right.
That now TMZ you can use as a source.
Yes,
and they're
crazy.
Right?
Yeah.
It seems crazy, right? But for us, it's like they usually have something. TMZ was the one that broke the Kobe story.
Wow. Yeah, I actually forgot about that. Well, and I think that I was listening to a podcast the other day, and they talked about the power of local news. We've seen it disappear in many markets. We've seen markets completely lose their local news source feed. We know the power of having a local paper. We have the Register versus the LA Times. We've watched what the Times is going through, which is tough. How do you feel that broadcast plays a role in that? Do you use the newspapers to help feed stories? Like talk about that.
Absolutely. I would say we were talking just casually about how do you, like, where do you start in the morning? Like the 2:30 meeting, like where do you even start? Where do you look for the stories? And the thing that's interesting about doing Good Day LA is you have, all the way up to Oxnard, all the way almost down to Carlsbad, almost out to Palm Springs. So how do you make sure all those stories are told? But LA Times, I would say, an OC Register, even Daily Pilot for me. I find the Irvine story about the school board, voting for themselves to get like 4 times the raise. I was like, okay, Daily Pilot, go off, because I didn't see that anywhere else. And I'm going to move that up the rundown today. Thank you.
Well, even like the scandal with Supervisor Andrew Doe, that was
juicy.
That was Nick from The Voice of OC.
Yeah.
And he's winning award over award on that. Now he's at the LAist. I mean, that broke because of local reporters. Do you guys, do you follow the paper, or do you create? Do you
both? I think both. I think we're both valuable assets to each other. I mean, I found a story that was in the Register the other day about a 10 or 11-year-old girl who just graduated college. Did you guys see this? Oh my God, right? Incredible. And so I'm like, assignment desk, get me this girl's parents. Like, I need to book her on the show immediately. But like, I wouldn't see that story if it wasn't for the OC Register or the Daily Pilot or some of these local papers. And the thing that's great about Good Day LA is there's a lot of like, I live here in Orange County and I'm sort of implanted amongst all of you. And I have a lot of people who feed me information and fun little niche stories that might not make the papers. And we have a lot of that in we have a ton of people who live in the IE. We have a ton of people who live in like the Santa Clarita area even. So if you have enough people sort of plugged into each community like that are reading their own local papers, like I can't get enough of it, but that does feed local news. And I think that for us, I'll let you get there, but I think for us, the local stories are the ones that people are actually the most interested in that way now.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I agree. So take us through a morning making decisions. Take us through, because you have four reporters. Yeah, and you have 4 a.m. to noon that you have to fill. Yep. So how do you break that up? And by the way, I think some people, when we're trying to get news crews down for an event, we're calling, different times. And then I know 8:30 is usually when we know they're making decisions for the day. And that's their planning meeting. But Michelle, when is your planning meeting?
So our first meeting of the day is at 2:30 a.m.
Sorry, all the PR people that need to get up.
That's why when Brenda first asked me to do coffee with, I'm like, well, my coffee's in the control room. Yeah. So if you want to move the meeting up to me, or we can do like happy hour. Yeah, if that works.
Bob, by the way, Bob's been on. Yeah. And we moved for Bob. We did lunch.
I love it.
And he's jealous, by the way, that she's here.
I know. He was definitely salty today. But I would say our 2:30 meeting is where we sort of like kick off the morning. What happened last night? We like to think of it as if you were going to turn on our show and you could only have 15 minutes, you only had 15 minutes of your time. Would you get enough of what's kind of happening in the world, what's kind of happening regionally, locally, whatever, just like in a bite, right? Like if we could fill 15 minutes of time for you. So we always try to choose where Gigi and Mario, our lead reporters, are going. And today's a perfect example of Gigi was going to cover the nurses' strike, the one-day nurses' strike. And as I'm driving in on KNX, which is what I listen to, everybody's like, what do you listen to in the morning?
I actually love KNX.
Oh, whatever. I'm like, it's either I listen to silence, because my own thoughts entertain me, or I listen to KNX, sometimes NPR, but it's a little too like hype. Like I like KNX because it's like hyper local and they give it to me quick. And I heard this morning there was a plane crash in San Diego.
I saw that.
So I kept listening because it's early, it's early still. And then all of a sudden it was like multiple homes, multiple possible casualties. And as I'm now driving in, because during the 2:30 meeting, I'm still at home. Then I drive in. And I called our assignment desk, who, by the way, like when Brenda was like, who are some of the key players? Like Freddie on our assignment desk has been there almost as long as I have. And this man like runs the business.
He knows what's up.
He definitely does. And he's like, girl, yes, let's send Gigi. We've got this. Sky Fox can't fly there. There's too much fog. Let's go. And we were one of the first crews in San Diego this morning. And that's one of the hard things to decide is like, do people care that this happened in San Diego? Because we're not in San Diego, like meaning our show.
I mean, it was on the AP, wasn't
right.
it? Yeah.
But you go through these questions in your head, right? Like we're Good Day LA. People in San Diego can't see our show, but a lot of people have friends, family, go to San Diego, no. So it became like a quick, and then of course it was military housing. So that elevates it again, because now these are, people who work for our military. So again, it just became, and then by the time it was 8:30, they're having multiple press conferences. We're sending another reporter and another crew. So it became the story of the day that wasn't a story at all in our 2:30 meeting. But that's just the sort of nature of what we're doing.
News, yeah.
And then we try not to cancel on you guys who have our fabulous features, down here. And we're like, we're so sorry we have to pull Brooker Cocoa off of your Newport Food and Wine Festival or whatever it is that day, because then they have to go cover breaking news.
Sorry, Pam.
Yeah. I think that one's tomorrow actually, but
okay, good.
It's only because it's fresh in my head. Yeah.
So that is an example of local breaking news. But I woke up this morning to the tragedy of the shooting that happened last night with the two Israeli embassy aides, and it was clear hate crime, anti-Semitic. Really tragic. And I saw the AP headline, and then I didn't get through all my headlines this morning. So I listened to NPR up front, which is 13 minutes. Give me the national news kind of thing. So I think it's funny you said that about the local.
And we actually, that was one of our lead stories today. And here's that's so interesting, because the San Diego story obviously sort of takes.
Right. Of course, local.
I used to use the word Trumps all the time, and now that he's president again, it just makes it harder.
Yeah.
But that sort of like trumped that story. But at the same time, here's another classic example of things that happen in the news. This morning, they say to us, at 8:30, there's going to be a press conference coming out of DC. Did you guys know that shooting, by the way, right outside of where that was is the FBI building?
No, I just knew it was the Jewish Museum.
So the Jewish Museum, if you're looking this way, the front door is the Jewish Museum. And if you turn directly behind you, it's the front of the FBI building. Oh. How wild, right?
Yeah.
Wild. So they were supposed to have a press conference this morning at 8:30. So of course it's like, rearrange the shows, press conference coming out about the Jewish. And of course it's like the saddest story. They were going to get engaged this week in Jerusalem. It's just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And then the press conference never started. We waited for over an hour and a half. I mean, but that's why you keep the show moving and rolling. Right. But you're like, I'm sorry if we have to cancel your live shot. And then the press conference didn't happen. I mean, it probably did later.
Yeah.
But you're waiting, and
you're balancing all of that.
Podium.
You're like,
we were like
okay,
watching
go.
a podium. And then the San Diego was having press conferences like every hour.
Yeah, that's a lot to balance. Yeah. But I brought that news story up, one, because I wanted to acknowledge that it was a tragedy and that I can't believe that this stuff is happening in this day and age, and it's wrong. But secondly, how do you take those national news stories and localize it?
So today, what we were going to do before the San Diego thing happened was we were going to send Gigi to a synagogue. Yeah. She was going to talk to people locally. Because again, that's a story that hits you when it's a religious hate crime is always so
well, because when hate crimes hit, it sends a message to not just that person, but to an entire community.
And we got a heads up about, maybe some extra security being at some of those synagogues today. So that was our natural inclination. It's like, we're sending Gigi there. And within, I think she maybe pulled off one live shot. I can't remember. Again, I don't remember what I did 2 hours ago, but but regardless, that was kind of the plan. It was like, take that lead story and how is that affecting the synagogues, the Jewish schools in Los Angeles? Like, what's going to happen here? Yeah. And then the San Diego thing happened.
Yeah. So that makes me wonder, how many PR people from different Jewish community organizations served you up experts to give commentary?
I would say 10, maybe.
Yeah, so
10.
So you do look for localized national stories. So we're dealing with. So what do you want PR people to know when you're thinking about national headlines and how you want to localize it?
So I think for us, it's just. One of our sort of playbook things for our show is like, how do we help our community feel safe? Yeah. Are there tools? Are there suggestions? Is there places to go? Is there a rabbi who we can book who might have some helpful tips, literature, something, a movie to watch with your kids? anything like that. And sometimes just putting it together for us so that we're not like, well, what could he talk about?
Yeah, just being able to say, here are the things.
Yeah, here's some bullet points that my rabbi has for you, and you could book him by Zoom or that. Like, the more information, a lot of times what happens is when people offer guests, they just sort of say like, hey, I have this guest named Brenda, and she's a great expert on data if you're looking for commentary. We got one today. Example. Hi, I have a friend so-and-so who's a pilot for United who can offer commentary on the plane in San Diego. And I'm like,
about what?
But like, maybe we want somebody to talk more about the weather conditions, or like, we don't really know what caused a plane crash at 4 a.m. So it's a little hard to get an expert to talk about something that is all speculative. And that's another thing that we don't look for is, I used the example yesterday with the Joe Biden cancer announcement. Mm-hmm. And again, it becomes this weird thing where instead of just saying like, oh my gosh, Joe Biden had cancer, let's talk to prostate cancer experts. Let's talk about, like, again, our show might be, do we have a therapist who could talk about, what is it like to talk about your grandparents dying? Like, how are good ways to start conversations with small children about their grandparents dying? Like, right? You can localize that story any way you want.
But things have changed.
And here becomes the problem. I don't know how many of you noticed this. Joe Biden's cancer announcement comes out, and 80% of the coverage that I saw, including all the national shows, was like, how long did he know? What was he hiding? How long is the party? And you're like, he has cancer. Do you know what I'm saying? So try to stay away from that. That's not what we're doing. That's why I always say to celebrities that we're trying to book on the show or things like that, like, I'm not interested in who you're dating or the scandal going on with this rapper that you're whatever. Like, I'm really just wanting to talk about your new album, your new book, your new project, your new thing. Like, and I guess if you want to know that stuff, you're already interested in reading it somewhere else, right? But like, to go there with whether it's the president or someone else, like, how long has he known? Is like, not
so you have to make some hard decisions of, am I going to be part of this story? Am I not? Because that's not your show.
That's not our show.
Yeah.
Personally. I do know that a lot of shows go after that content, but we
not
don't.
Locally, really? Do they?
Locally, no. No. But I'm saying when people assume like you want an expert or something, they'll literally say like, we have CNN went right for that story of like, how long did he know? He definitely had this for 3 years. It was like, okay, wait. Like,
so if you need, the moral of the story is if you need a mental health break on news and still have to consume news, watch Good Day LA.
Well, that's actually how we sort of started to turn what Good Day LA became, was after the pandemic. And then we got new hosts that sort of were fresh air for our show that sort of brought back, again, we talked about the Steve, Jillian, and Dorothy era.
Yeah.
And our new host sort of brought that back. Bob DeCastro has been on the show for 20 plus years.
We love Bob.
Now he's the host of our show with Jen, who's great. And I think the nice thing about our show is, personally, they're all really friends. They all really like each other. They all really support each other. And there's no ego in any of them. And I think what's wonderful is they support each other on the show. And I think that translates. So our show just becomes this authentic place to sort of be yourself and tell news stories and have a little fun.
Yeah.
And I think that sort of is now translating to the audience.
Well, you've been there 27 years.
Yeah.
Bob's been there over 20 years.
Yeah.
I mean, you think of the longevity. There's something that's going right in the culture, right?
I hope.
I was just talking to you yesterday about one of our stories with City of Hope.
Mm-hmm.
They've been our client forever. And we have that celebrating cancer survivors story coming up. And I just was so touched by how immediately you were like, oh my God, I love City of Hope. We all love City of Hope. They saved Amanda's life. And I just loved how you were like, I want to put her on the story, but it's her birthday. And
I mean, I knew immediately. I was like, it's June 6th. That's Amanda's birthday. And Amanda truly, City of Hope became a center of stories for us. As Amanda was going through her cancer journey, she brought the viewers along with her. I mean, I can't imagine, like, she's on TV. She has this long, beautiful black hair. I mean, she's got everything going for her. And all of a sudden she gets this diagnosis of like, you're going to start chemo right now for 5 days a week, 24 hours a day. She lost all of her hair almost immediately. She had a buzz party where she like buzzed all of her hair off, invited a bunch of friends. I think they did shots, like a buzzed party, because of course, Amanda.
That's cute.
And while this girl had cancer at like, I think she's maybe like 35, she raised like $40,000 for leukemia patients, like on her, like literally bald, light the night, walking the thing. And so Dr. Herrera from City of Hope
Dr.
became
Herrera. Yeah.
Amanda's sort of like beacon, North Star. He saved her life. He became the officiant at her wedding. So City of Hope has a really special place.
But what I was touched, because I knew Amanda's story, but I didn't know that you would immediately know that it was her birthday.
Oh, yeah.
And that you wanted her to do the story.
Oh, yeah.
And if she couldn't do the story, we got to figure out another way for her to do the story. I just loved that.
Yeah.
And it showed how in tune you were to the talent that you have and the I wouldn't call them talent.
No, we do. We do.
The
They're
professionals
hosts,
that you have. And it was really touching. And of course, I know you cover all the other, health systems and hospitals and all of that. So you're not necessarily biased to us.
No, and every hospital obviously has their own,
But
special.
I did love how you were like, oh my God, no, it's her birthday and she has to do this, but she's off. So how are we going to make this happen? And I just appreciated that. And I think that that's reflective in how long people stay and how much you were talking about the trust. And I think if you all trust each other, I think that it comes through and then we can trust you. And I think that that's something that local news will always have for us, is that it's so important. If you went away, we wouldn't know about half the things that are happening in our community. And you started to break down the things that you want to have on the different hours. And I want the PR people here that, are here, but also that watch these Morning Coffee Withs as resources for how to inform their pitches. I want them to hear kind of, if you're pitching Michelle or Donna or any of your producers, what do they need to know? And let's give them a guide, because we only have a few minutes before we're going to open it up.
Oh, yeah.
And
okay.
I want to make sure that they
And by the
know.
way, when I'm done with this, I'm going to send Brendan an email with like all the people's names that I'm talking about and their email addresses. And then I don't know if you have like an email blast of all the people that came, but it would be helpful because let me tell you. So I think the thing that's interesting to know is like all of those experts where we're looking for like a rabbi or somebody to talk about the Jewish Community Center, those are going to happen in our 6 and 7 o'clock hours. Our highest viewer, people, when they get up and watch TV in the morning, like that's the 6 to sort of like 9 o'clock hour, really. It's like, even if you're sort of showering and making breakfast and all the things. Yeah, you have the news on.
At least if you're a good PR person, you have the news.
Right? And then when you kind of get to the 8:30 to 9 to the 10 o'clock hours, that's when you're doing like your more foods, demos, fun. Because these are now people who have like dropped the kids off from school. They're like working from home, but the TV's on. Maybe not the sound though. So you got to have like really good banners with information, right?
Mona Shaw owns that.
She really does. Our momfluencer. But again, that's it's another fun story, but we can get into that. The point is, so our 6 and 7 o'clock hour, we're really looking for experts. Sometimes, again, it's like the stock market was going off. So we want to make sure that people are like, hey, don't panic. Like these things happen. Those are all going to be the 6. Oh, tariffs. So 8 o'clock is when we start like relaxing, having a little bit more fun. We start doing food demos, Tasty Tuesday, best products for Memorial Day weekend or fashion shows, things like that. Celebrity guests start in the 8:30, 8:45 hour. Also in the 8 o'clock hour, we do those living connected stories. So for those of you who have like really great stories, maybe you help in the sex trafficking and human trafficking, areas, and you want to have an expert on to talk about some of that stuff, maybe with like the Diddy trial or something, and you need an expert, like that would be the time where we would find you. 9 and 10 and 11 o'clock. 11 o'clock is really like our podcast show, which is so fun. But I'd say 9 and 10 o'clock, again, same things, really stepped out demos. We do the big, like the dragon dance for the AAPI month. Really just more fun, more loose, more talk show style. And then by the time we get to the 11 a.m. show, Christian show, who we kind of stole him from sports. And he loves comedians and he loves podcasts. And he sort of really created this 11 o'clock show to be a much more like, we call it like kick off your shoes kind of show. And the girls sometimes literally sit there, kick off their shoes. And what you feel like you're watching at 11 is a bunch of girls talking about the news stories of the day. And now Bob also. But he's one of the girls. And then Bob literally says on TV, live television the other day. He's like, I hate this hour. You girls make me share too much. And then they all laughed at him and he's like, oh, I hate sharing. Because they talk about like their real lives and personal lives on that show.
And he really doesn't ever give much on his personal
I
life.
know. And Bob is really one of the most like layered, fun, interesting. Like his house looks like Architectural Digest. His dog is like perfect. He's the guest
that was on Morning Coffee with, and I told him I wear jeans and he shows up in a suit and tie. I'm like, Bob. And he's like, Bob. I'm not, this is his thing. He wears a tie. He always does. So I want to make sure people get a chance to ask you some questions. So we're going to open it up. I'm sure there's plenty of people who have things to ask. There is a microphone being passed around. When you introduce yourself, just make sure we know where you're from. That's always interesting. So questions.
Hi there, my name is Yessie from Pretend City Children's Museum.
Oh, we love Pretend City.
You know we go there all the time, right?
Yes.
Okay, I love it.
And so Coco was just there for, I don't remember, a chicken coop opening.
And I think Jen, our main anchor, just brought her son.
Oh.
She Insta-storied it. She loved it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we got a lot of backlash because we had Good Day LA there, and then we were like,
backlash from who?
From our members and guests, because they were like, oh.
See what I mean? People don't understand the difference. It's so sad.
Yes. So we would love to support in providing, information about Fox News and educating our public using our platform, and because it's great. You guys provide all this information for families, and I love that you guys shared about the rabbi and stuff like that. So that was it. I love it.
Oh, thank you. No, thank you.
That was just a fan moment. No question.
I love it. No, thank you. We love Pretend City. I mean, so much that Jen saw Coco's live shot, our main anchor, and took her son, and she's like, he's obsessed. We'll be back. And she lives way up by the station, so she drove all the way down.
Yeah, and the kids are interested in being interviewed too. So
I love it. Thank you so much. Those live shots were super fun.
We should do a little career day at Pretend City so you can inspire 3-year-olds.
I love it.
Yeah.
We do have
I teach at Chapman too.
Day.
I'm available.
Okay. Perfect.
Oh yeah, you didn't mention that you teach at Chapman.
Yeah. I graduated from Chapman. Now I teach at Chapman. I just finished my 5th semester.
I love that.
So exciting.
Yeah, that's very
cool.
And
I've literally gotten now 3 of the graduating seniors jobs.
Yay!
I mean, they've gotten themselves the jobs. I made the connections for them.
Hey, connections are everything. I always say, I'll make the connection,
you
get the job.
That's right.
Yeah, right?
I don't want to take all the credit.
Georgie.
Okay, take my thunder. No, hi.
I mean, nobody can take your thunder.
No
way. Now, ladies and gentlemen.
Michelle, my name is Georgie. It's pronounced with a smile. I am our OCPRSA Young Professionals Mentor Chair. And so I really loved your story about how you made it into the industry. And so like a lot of times when I encounter mentees, right, they're so hungry, they wanna jump right into mainstream and stuff. And so I always tell them that they have to follow a path. So what I want to ask you is like, what would you recommend young professionals, especially women, like what is the right path? Where would you have them start in terms of like getting started with their career as either a journalist, a public relations specialist, or a communicator?
I mean, I can speak to the broadcast aspect just because the PR, I mean, I work with all of you guys. But on the broadcast side, even what I tell my Chapman students is, you all now have way more things at your fingertips. Like, I had a computer, like, I don't want to totally date myself, but obviously I've been at Fox 27 years. But when I was at Chapman, there was a computer lab behind the football field that had 20 computers that you had to like sign up for 10 minutes to check your email. And you're like, what is email? But okay, fine. So what I'm saying is now there's YouTube, TikTok, all the things. And when I ask students at Chapman, which, oh my God, by the way, they teach me just as much as I teach them for real. And that's half the reason I love it. And I also steal them too. But what I say to them is like, you can become, they all watch the news on TikTok. They all watch the news on YouTube. Like they don't watch broadcast at all. We were talking about that too. They're watching TikTok. They're watching YouTube. Start your own YouTube channel. You can be tube anything you want to be, right?
Oh my God, I've never heard that.
Amanda Salas, got to give all the credit.
Oh my gosh.
Amanda Salas original. But what I'm saying is they can start their TikTok. Like Amanda she came to speak at Chapman and she was talking to one of the students who had been on like a food baking network competition. And he's like, I bake in my dorm. I call it more. She's like, amazing. Get on TikTok and you do Dorm Dash. And he was like, oh. And Amanda literally came up with this with 5 seconds of information. And now he does these Instagram reels, TikToks of like Dorm Dash, and he's making macaroons in his dorms at Chapman. Are you kidding? And now you've made a name for yourself. He wants to get an internship at Food Network. Like, again, not everybody has an Amanda or a Michelle to go to as a mentor, but as all of us, you have these tools like literally in your hand all day. Create your own content, make a name for yourself. And now you don't have to wait to be hired by a Good Day LA. You can be your own whatever you want. Like you can be whatever you want, right? Mm-hmm. And then LinkedIn is where you post your YouTube stuff. And if you just navigate your way through the TikToks, the Instagrams, and I'm always saying to them, like, these are new jobs for us too. We now have people on our staff who are doing TikTok and Instagram stories. We were talking about how now we have on Instagram, like our fast 5 stories of the day. We need somebody who can create that content, and who better than all these amazing young people coming up through, like, they're so smart and they're so fast. Oh my God. Like, you're literally like, oh, I'm sorry, you already edited that reel? Okay, well, let me find something else for you to do. Thought it was gonna take you 2 hours. But you get what I'm saying is like, I just encourage people, like, you can own your identity now. And also it can be a resume tape for that network job or for that PR firm of like, hey, you guys want something in marketing? Look at the way I market my own whatever. Or I could make your TikTok sing for your PR firm. What? Like, we don't have anybody who does TikTok for our PR firm or Instagram or whatever it is. And I just love that these are jobs now. I'm sorry, that was a long answer.
Well,
no. And sorry. The only reason why I say that is because I already tell them that. I just want them to hear it from somebody that is already famous. You know, because it just reinforces that fact, right?
Yeah.
So thank you. Thank you so much.
Of course, yeah.
That was a great question.
Sherry Ledbetter from UC Irvine, and my son is graduating from Chapman tomorrow night.
He is, congrats. What department is he in?
If you have a 4th opening, we can talk.
What department?
He's in history, but if you need researchers,
Right.
he's all on the social media.
Yeah.
But that was actually a good transition to the question I really wanted to ask, which is, how much do you use social media to find stories?
A ton. Not only, again, helpful things, because people like OC Register and Daily Pilot are putting those stories that I'm finding, like the 10-year-old girl who just graduated college, on Instagram and whatever, and it sort of like ends up flooding it's called your FYP if you didn't know. Just found that out. But anyway, you get what I'm saying. So it's a lot of hand-holding, I would say. It's both. And also our team now does their own like yesterday they were using, because it's a light one, it's a fun one to use, but they were using the elephant story. The elephants were like stolen from the LA Zoo in the middle of the night. So they were doing, like fun TikToks in the newsroom of like,
how do you steal an elephant?
Exactly. 2 of them, mind you. And then you're like, what zoo did they go to?
Where are they?
We're investigative reporters at this point. And so Amanda was like, yeah, we should do a TikTok on like find the elephant. But that's how you get the attention to a story that you might not be aware of or interested in. So it's kind of, it holds hands now for us more than, I will say that our web team does this amazing thing called Chartbeat. I don't know if you guys all use it as well, but it tracks what's sort of trending online locally from the stations. You kind of know what stories are popping up, and we use that every morning to sort of judge, oh, this story that we don't even have in the rundown, like so many people are clicking on this literally live right now. We should move that up into the rundown. And so it's a lot of hand-holding actually, yeah.
Bonnie, you can just pass the mic, yeah.
Hi, I'm Bonnie Pomish with Working Wardrobes, and Gretchen Leonard asked me this question. I haven't stopped thinking about it since, and I want to hear your answer because your career has been so full already. What's your inconvenient dream? What's the thing that you haven't pursued yet that is inconvenient but would be amazing if you could make it happen?
Oh my God.
That's a good question.
I don't know. I guess, it's hard to say that it's a dream. I never dreamed of getting married and having kids, but that was one of the side effects of having this job was I never did. I almost did, but cheating happens.
I said I was going to ask that question.
But I guess that's, and then the people that say, this is my always favorite, by the way, as a woman, especially in a career where you have success, it's but didn't you want to get married and have kids? Thank you for that question, Diane. No, I didn't. Men are, no. But I would say that is it, a thing when like sometimes the holidays come around and whatever, like I always work the holidays for people with kids or Christmas so that they can be with their little kids on Christmas if I'm not going home. So that would maybe be an untraditional answer, I guess, but that people are like, and again, it's the way they phrase it always.
It's insulting.
Didn't you want to have kids? Didn't you just want to get married?
Well, now that you went there, can I ask a follow-up question?
Yeah.
Do it.
So
What am I looking for in a man? No, I'm totally kidding. I'm totally kidding.
I'd encourage you to switch teams.
I think,
Oh my God. And that's all, folks. That's all.
I feel like we're on Bob's or Kristen's show.
No, right? Love it.
What do you hope that your legacy will be?
I mean, I think when people say like, I came on your show and I had a great time, or while you were there, people treated us really well, or when we came to your station, we felt so welcome, or I think that we've heard that a lot recently, I think, since I've become the executive. Not that it was bad before. I'm just hearing it now because I'm in front of people more often than I was as a senior producer, a little more behind the scenes. And now I sort of make sure I greet all the guests. I make sure I welcome people, ask them if they need anything, even if it's a cup of coffee. And I know it seems simple because we're doing news and it's big things, but I think it's the way you make people feel that come to your station every day. And people want to feel like this is their moment. They get to be on TV for 5 minutes, and whether they're a chef or they're an expert in a field, like, thank you for your time and like, thank you for being here. Honestly, and I know that a lot of your clients probably want to still do Zoom because it's so convenient and they can do it from home, but I am telling you the value in having people come to the studio and look at someone face to face and have a relationship and be able to like reach out and touch their hand if it's an emotional moment really changes everything. So I know it's weird, but we're like, can you do a fashion show with working wardrobes and come to the station with like 6 models and be there at 8:30 in the morning and all the things? It's like, but it would really mean the world. But yes.
Yeah. Well, I have to say too, and I think anybody who's ever made the trek up there, like the trek, we went.
It is
a little bit at certain times. You've always made everyone feel amazing. You've always been that, not just in your executive producer role. You made my daughters feel great. You've made all of my clients feel great over the years. And honestly, you had a great team on the field before I even knew what you looked like, knew that you lived down the street from where Dan and I were having a drink. And I really want you to know that that is something that is already part of your reputation and eventually your legacy. But I really did think that you were going to answer your answer about your inconvenient dream. I thought you were going to say you were going to be a stand-up comic, because isn't she freaking hysterical? Like, I literally thought you were going to be a comic.
One time, do you guys know who Whitney Cummings is? Yeah. So I love her. And she was in studio one day and it was like the best. She gets herself ready in the dressing room. This is like a 10-second fun story, but she literally she had her underwear on and her bra. She was like curling her own hair. She like opens the door with her foot and she's like, yeah. I mean, she's the best. She's so fun. She's such a girl's girl. And anyway, we were chatting. I was briefing her. We were almost done. And she goes, you know what? You remind me of somebody. Me. I was like, my day's been made. I was literally like, I'm just going to go home now. I have to be done for the day. And then now every comedian that comes in, I'm like, let me tell you a story about Whitney Cummings. But yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, we're supposed to wrap up, but I know there were some questions. Any other questions? Because I want to make sure. She's just amazing. That hour flew by so fast. But somebody's got to ask the AI question. I'm going to ask the AI question. Tiffany, did you want to? You always ask an AI question.
Sure. We're not only competing with other content creators, but other media outlets out there for eyes and attention. And how is your strategy at Good Day LA to kind of cut through the clutter, especially with AI producing content now?
So that's an interesting question. And we have our own sort of version of, it's called like Fox GPT, meaning we can only use it for certain things and it's only approved for certain things, right? So we're not going to have the newscast written by AI. We have writers. I was telling Brenda, we used it the other day. This is just an interesting example of a way that we can use AI for ourselves that actually doesn't feel gross. Was that me?
No, it wasn't.
Okay. So for those of you who know my food producer, Mallory Bell, sorry, she got married. She was doing this is such a random example, but of using AI that we could do and doesn't feel dirty. She was doing a food demo all about fiber today. and they were looking, you know how we have the big monitor walls where you want to put the beautiful like chef's restaurant or food in? And she was like, oh, these are such specific things. I can't find a photo with apples, kale. Like it was just these 5 specific ingredients that she needed, like in a kitchen on a counter. So they're like, Fox GPT, like make me a picture with, and it was like kale, apples, bananas on a kitchen counter, very generic. No,
Did it have 5 fingers?
no, it was literally like as if somebody took the photo. But again, like then it doesn't feel dirty because you're just like, I'm just creating a picture that I need that I can't find online, that I don't have the rights to buy or something like that. And it was like, we could use it for this. That works, you know, or sometimes we come up with like, I'm looking for a way to say this or do a story pitch. Like, could you bullet point my thoughts for me? An interesting one that I said to Brenda when we were talking about using AI in a helpful way, when Matthew Perry died, that was when we had first sort of started using it. And that coroner's report came back and it was like super confusing, right? And so the head of our digital team, Mary, again, like we all help each other, right? She goes, you know what? I put it through ChatGPT and you can really understand it better now. Like I ran it through and said, explain it to me like I'm 10 and bullet point the 3 or 5 most important things about this coroner's report. And all of a sudden it was like, oh, you can break down like the Diddy case. You can break down all those pages of testimony with like, here's 5 things you need to know that don't include the word baby oil. Whatever, right? So again, like you can use it for things that don't feel dirty, that just sort of help you get to the point. But I would never use it for something that you would still need to fact check, right? Like it wouldn't be like, write this story for me. I don't have time is not it.
No.
Like, and it never sounds like the news and it doesn't sound right. And we've done it just to test, like sort of like, what if we took this story from AP Wire and had ChatGPT write it for us? And it's just weird.
I can spot it a mile away.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate you coming. I was going to say coming down. She did not drive all the way from LA for us. Actually, she did drive from work, but she only has a 10-minute drive home.
That's right.
So thank you for coming.
Thank you.
I really loved being able to like learn more about you. I'm sure every single person in this room just appreciates getting to know a little bit more of your backstory, but also how you're like balancing a lot. You're a badass news producer, you know, making sure that we know what's going on in our community. So thank you for everything you do and for filling our lives each morning. So.
And thank you all for all of your pitches and emails and follow-up phone calls and follow-up emails and sending it back to the top of the box to remind me. Thank you.
Guilty.
I love it. I really do. It helps. And I'll even sometimes say that.
That's good. Well, Michelle's going to hang out for a little bit so you guys can have some time with her. But thank you, everyone, for coming.